And ladies and gentlemen, we hope you all are ready to take some powerful notes or excited about the call this morning. This individual has been doing a series all January called the Addiction Series. And just to let you know a little bit about this individual, he has a professional background, 2 degrees in his industry, and he found himself working his job, working remotely like a lot of us are, and he left his computer to use the restroom. And when he left his computer for 5 minutes to use the restroom, he got back to a message asking him, or a phone call asking him why he left to do what he needed to do. It was at that point he realized that it didn't matter how many degrees that he had, that he was going to be treated a certain way working for someone else. And he decided to put his head down and go to work in ACN. And in doing so, he's been able to create results. He's learned how to do cold market extremely well. He's been able to peak and enroll people through identifying them as he goes out on a day-to-day. And he's going to be talking to us about the next part of his series. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to the call Mr. Sam Foster. Good morning, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I want to first of all give it back to you, sir, for always being on point, always being a professional guy, being the type of guy that we all can depend on, no matter what organization we're coming from. You've always been there, been on point. You've always been a beacon of light for us. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's been about 16 years for you. So once again, thank you. I also want to give it back to Mr. Jabri Clemens. Once again, he's the unsung hero. He's always behind the scenes, pushing the strings. So I want to say thank you to him as well. Also, none other than himself, Mr. Al Thomas. I know he's traveling, coming this way for the Emerge event that will be happening on tomorrow here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Those of you who cannot get here live, I suggest that you guys get on it virtually. I think they still have virtual admission. So if you can get it, go ahead and get it. Okay. We're going to get started, ladies and gentlemen. But with me saying, talking about the Merge event, I want to first of all wish ACN a happy birthday. So with typical Sam attire, got my beads on for today. I'm gonna jumpstart the event for tomorrow. I got me a little hat together, so I'm gonna do would be fitting today to do happy birthday to ACN. So we're gonna get a little interactive this morning, ladies and gentlemen, and we're gonna sing happy birthday to ACN. So if you guys can chime in, we're gonna get started. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, ACN. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to ACN, everybody. All right. Okay, there we go. I know some people that may look at this particular viewing at a later time may say, well, why are they saying happy birthday? We're saying happy birthday, ladies and gentlemen, because ACN is officially 29 years old in the business. 29 years old. So everybody that's on the call, I want you to give you guys a hand. Everybody give themselves a hand, because most people on this call are actually IBOs in the business, and this is 29 years. Yeah, I don't care if you've been here for 2 months, 2 days, 2 hours. You are celebrating with us 29 years of business, 29 years of success. All right. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do is, as we do about this time, you want to roll your sleeves up. We're going to roll our sleeves up. And as you guys know, we're into the final stretch of what I have been working on called the Addiction Series. And we tap our arm, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're driving, to get a pulse. What are we addicted to? Success. That's right, success. The Addiction Series. This is the last day of the series, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys and young ladies for getting on the call and actually hearing from me. Okay, we're going to get started with no further ado. All right, first of all, if you're taking notes, the last installment of the addiction series, the title is Who Wants It? Yep. I'm gonna repeat it because maybe you didn't hear me. Who wants it? Who wants it? That's my question to everybody. I know I got people on the call. I got Miss Akinko over in Japan. I got Natasha Wang over in Canada. I got you. We got a worldwide call on today. But I'm calling a clarion call to everybody. My question today, including to myself, ladies and gentlemen, is who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants it? I know. I want you to think about it. You know, once again, like I always say, you may have to eat it now, but taste it later. But I want you to ask yourself, who wants it? If you want it, you reflect on yourself. If you want it, you reflect on yourself. Okay, the first note, a rule of thumb I want you guys to write down is percentages versus paychecks. That's right, percentages versus a paycheck. This is what I want you guys to keep in your mind as you're going through your days and your weeks and your months for 2022 to be successful in this business. Percentages versus paychecks. What do you mean by that, Sam? I'm getting to that. I had to really sit down and think about this thing. And as I started picking people, and Julian Lewis did a real good job of introducing me. I do a fairly good job of going out and doing cold marketing. One of the things I had to think about this past week real deeply as I'm going out to peak is percentages versus paychecks. So I started telling people the difference between percentages and a paycheck. And I simply told them this, ladies and gentlemen. I said, you do realize that in what I do, I have the opportunity to make a percentage as opposed to a paycheck. And if you're looking at a paycheck, well, you got to go back and get another paycheck. And if you're not there to get the paycheck or earn the paycheck, you don't get the money. So it's a paycheck. You have to be there to get it. Not so with percentages, ladies and gentlemen. If you're doing percentages, you don't have to worry about the paycheck because that money keeps coming to you in a percentage form. It can increase if you want it to increase. It can multiply itself, especially if you're doing essential services, because it's going to multiply itself anyway if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, I get it, ladies and gentlemen. I know everybody's not on the same level. I get it. It's not about being on the same level. It's about starting. And when you start, it's about being consistent because everybody's not on the same level. That's why we have different positions, but that doesn't matter. I'm not talking about a level or anything like that. I'm just talking about you being consistent and you're recognizing the difference between a percentage and a paycheck. There's a huge difference, okay? Now, with that said, I want you to also pay attention, guys, to the difference between double days versus single days, all right? Yesterday, we had Mr. Steve Payton on the call, and I was, telling him that, he asked what did we do different throughout the week, and I told him that I had started doubling up, and I call it double days. And the reason why I started doubling up, ladies and gentlemen, was because I started seeing, okay, if I keep doing the same thing, I'm probably gonna get the same result. So I had to start doubling up. So I call it double days. And the reason why I call it double days, for those of you who are paying attention, and I appreciate it because this is going to help someone, business takes to another level. So watch this. What I started realizing was I said, if I double up per day in my peaking efforts, well, if I double up, then the days that I don't double up, I'm still ahead of the game because I had days that I did double up. Now, when you say double up, it's going to take a while to double up, but let's average out of 7 days. If you can start doubling up, I don't know, 3 times a week, well, that's on average every other day. And the reason why I say double up is because I'm going to give you a for instance, ladies and gentlemen. That way you'll know when I say what double up is. This morning, I got up this morning on purpose. I got up, starting to do things different. So I got up this morning. I went to Walmart. That seems to be one of my favorite places now. I go into Walmart, had to been about 9 o'clock this morning. So I get up, I go to Walmart, I started walking around. Let me show you how my method is. Okay, I knew I had got there pretty early, okay, because this is 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm walking through Walmart, pacing myself. Then I'm saying to myself, I said, well, what if I wasn't as I guess aggressive as I am when it comes to peaking people? Okay, so I started thinking about different people that I know may not be like me. So I'm having to average myself out a little bit because you have people on your team that may not be like you, good or bad. So you have to think about that. Remember last week I said be all things to all people. So continue to remind yourself of that. So when you get people on your team that may not be as forward as you can kind of think about you empathize and sympathize with them a little bit. So what I did was I said, I'm gonna pace myself. I'm gonna act as if I just kind of got started in the business. So what would a new person feel like? So as I walked into Walmart, I started walking a little slow. I started noticing things about people, whether it's their clothing or something like that, that I can give a compliment on. Okay, that's rule of thumb. Try to pick out something you can give a compliment on. Then as I started walking around, I started noticing little small things. Let me show you the first person I made contact with. Ironically, that person just so happened to have been one of my fraternity brothers. How did you know that? I saw him have his jacket on. So I looked at the emblem. I said, oh, okay, okay. I said, this is going to be great. And I know this doesn't fit everybody. I'm just giving it for an example. I walk up to him. I say a few things to him. For those of you who are in a fraternity or sorority, I know a few on the call. So you know what you have to say and this, that, and other. So that broke the ice. Okay, so I went from cold market to at least warm market, or at least lukewarm market. Hint, hint. So as I talked to him, come to find out, I found out what he did. He's ex-military, just to give you an example. Told me what college he went to, things of that nature. So he runs his own security business. So bing, rule number one, find out whether that person is a business owner or whatnot. So immediately he ends up giving me one of his business cards. So I got it right here as an example. Okay. So once he does that, well, I don't spend a whole lot of time talking to him. I said, okay, I got you. I own a little something too. So I said, hey, I'll call you later on. Okay, cool. Boom, got him out the way. I was quick about it. Wasn't a whole lot of dragging him out, this, that, and the other. Why? Because I got the relevant information that I needed from him. And then I know we share a special bond by being in the same fraternity. It could be Glee Club. It don't have to be a fraternity, but when you see similarities in a person, you can play off of that in a good way. So I said, well, I know I could talk to him later. Got his contact information. Of course, he has mine. So we are already good right there. So then I come around. My next person I pick, ladies and gentlemen, this person just so happened to be a business owner as well. And I picked them kind of oddly. I was getting ready to go to the next aisle. And then that person actually turned their buggy over to where I was getting ready to go. So I bumped into their buggy, a female. And the reason why I say it is because when she did that, usually most people will say, did she say, excuse me? And most people say, oh, no problem, and they keep going. I use that, ladies and gentlemen, as an opportunity to share the information with someone. So what I did was I started laughing and she started laughing. Then I noticed her hair. Her hair looked real nice. So I complimented her. I said, wow. I said, you must do hair or something. I said, because your hair is laid. She started laughing. She said, it looks bad. I said, no, it looks pretty good. I said, what do you do? She said, oh, I'm a beautician. I own my own beauty shop. I said, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you owned something that had something to do with hair or something. I said, because your hair is fake. She said, nah, it doesn't look like it like it would look if I'd have done something to it, but it looked real nice. Okay, so that compliment alone, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it broke the ice. I'm showing you guys how to go from cold market to at least lukewarm. So you're getting to warm market even in the freezing cold of the situation. So what I did was once I broke the ice with her and found out she was a business owner, I said, well, what do you want to do with it? She said, well, I'm thinking about expanding my brain. I said, do you keep your options open? That was it. So in about 2 minutes after that, shortness of time, I had her name, had her number, had her occupation. That was it. Didn't take a whole lot of time, didn't have to. So what I did was I ended up giving her the 1 minute video that doesn't have our brand on it or anything. It just has our concept. And the reason why I did that, ladies and gentlemen, I think our video, I got it timed out, is a minute and 23 seconds. And the reason why I did that is because I did it right in front of her. I did it right in front of her. So that way she already knew on the onset, at least the concept. Now, she didn't play it in front of me, which was cool. Now she got it. Now she could understand a little bit about what I do. And at the end of the day, if she doesn't really understand, at least I put a seed in her mind. I put a seed in her mind, ladies and gentlemen, so she can understand, wait a minute, let me take this a little bit further. Because the 1 minute video, it says a whole lot without saying a whole lot, if you guys can understand it. Okay, the third person that I ran into, same Walmart, same time span, was this gentleman who actually is from Africa. And he was actually looking on the shelves trying to get some medication off the shelves. He's a courier. So it's like Uber Eats, but he just doesn't do just food. You know, he's going, all these people doing the situation, you know, they got these couriers now that can take their groceries and stuff to their homes and stuff like that. So he's one of those guys. But I noticed, ladies and gentlemen, he had a distinct dialect. So I asked him, I said, well, where are you from? And he told me he was from Nigeria, okay, in Africa. So I said, wow, I said, it's unique. I said, how long you been here, this, that, and the other? He said, well, you know, he came from Africa, but he recently moved here from Cincinnati, Ohio. So as soon as he said Ohio, let me show you how I peak code market. As soon as he said Ohio, I turned around and I said, hey, man, I have a business partner in Ohio that just moved from Ohio as well recently. His name is Steve Payton. Aha, aha. I used that as a form of leverage, ladies and gentlemen. So he said, really? I said, yeah. I said, man, yeah, okay. Ohio. I asked him, you know, what is he doing out here? Then he told me a little bit about himself and this, that, and the other. And I asked him, do you keep your options open? So when he told me he kept his options open, ladies and gentlemen, ding, 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 ding. Got it right then and there. Got his name, got his phone number, got his occupation. Right then and there, I'm putting that in my phone on the spot, right? And as I'm putting it in my phone, you know, it takes a little while, maybe about 30 seconds or so. I'm talking to him about other things so that way he can stay talking so I can make sure I lock it in the phone. Then I repeat the number back to him, right, to make sure the number is correct. But remember now, I'm calling that number right in front of him. So if I'm calling that number in front of him, I actually can understand and know that this is his number because it's going to ring right in front of him. So no guessing games. I do have the right number, right information. So once I did that and I understood what he did, he kept his options open. So right then and there, I know that's a contact, right? So what I'm saying is from the time I walked into that store to the time I walked out, I was casually getting names and numbers, names and numbers, names and numbers of different people and that did different things. No one person did the same thing. So right then and there, my cold market for me becomes a heck of a lot warmer. And for the people that's on the call that say, well, I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, you can do it. You just have to prepare yourself before you walk out of your door. You have to be intentional about doing this thing, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be intentional about being consistent. That's it. It's all about being intentional. And you can start off small. You don't have to do 5 or 6 names and numbers. You can start out small, build on the consistency of being intentional. Remember now, I do double updates. So that was my first peak of the day. Now that was around breakfast time. That was about 2 hours before I was supposed to get on a call. And I knew that. So I knew I was going to use that as an opportunity to share it with you guys just to let you know that double up is real. So watch this. The difference between you doubling up and you having a single day is the fact that if you have a double up day, it takes care of some of the single days, and at some point it'll start averaging out. And then you got more leads. In its entirety, you end up having more leads. Think about it for a second. Think about it for a second. And then I want to get into, ladies and gentlemen, the me versus me scenario. The me versus me scenario. What is that, Sam? Okay, I'm glad you asked. At some point, let's look at the man in the mirror. I think Mr. Jabri did a wonderful job of playing that song because that was one of the key points I had on my notes. Me versus me. In other words, I think Julian Lewis said it best. You're not in competition with anybody. You make it fun. Now, this morning, I'm saying what I did, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not in competition with anybody. I mean, it's me. It's me. I'm not in competition with anybody. I made it fun this morning. I made it fun. You see what I'm doing? Happy birthday, ACN. You make it festive. You make it fun. Even if you're not presenting on the call, I'm telling you something that'll outlive the call because it's procedures that you can do to break the ice, right? And then you got to ask yourself, who wants it? That's what you got to ask yourself at night, in the morning, in the evening. Do I want it? Do I really want it? Search your why. Do I really want it? If I do want it, I have to be consistent. We got people on this call 15, 16 years, 20 years. Remember now, they want it. If you're there that long, you want it. If you're here 2 or 3 days, that's not to say you don't want it, but you have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, do I really want it? And be consistent when you say that to yourself. Do things that are going to have you being consistent every single day. You might not knock it out the park every day, but at least you're on the field. You have to maintain your adversity to be on the field. All right? Want to leave you guys with something. I want you guys to think about this for a second. ACN is one of the only service providers that actually works. Yeah, I know it sounds funny, but we're one of the only service providers that actually work on a consistent basis. And the reason why I said it is because it's already working. All the services that we provide is not a guessing game, ladies and gentlemen. These services actually work because we work them every day. On average, we work these services. I don't care what they are. Electricity, internet, cable, cell phone service. We're working them every day, so they actually work. So use that as a tool of understanding. I don't care who you talk to, it's already working. So you have to keep out of your mind, we selling it. No, we're not selling it. We're providing the opportunity, but we're not selling anything. They already have it. So watch this. With that said, I want to give individuals on the call an opportunity, because I know I hadn't done this in a while. I want to give individuals an opportunity on the call. If you have any questions about the peaking, the cold market, and things like that, to open up the call for individuals who may have a couple of questions. We're not going to draw it out, but a couple of questions. If you have a couple of questions about peaking, why? Because we need to find out who wants it. So, sir, if you have anybody that's on the call that we want to open up the call for a little Q&A at this time, we can. Okay, I see Mr. Sharp. If you can unmute him.
All right. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I just want to thank you for this training, and it reminds me to always utilize, if I'm going to run errands, why not talk to somebody? Why not utilize that time to do that? So just want to thank you for that, because it's a great reminder for everybody. So I just wanted to ask one question about So when you're walking into whatever store, wherever you are, what is the first, do you say something to yourself as soon as you walk in that it gives you the energy to say, I'm going to talk to somebody? Is there something that you say to yourself or motivate yourself? You know, do you go through a ritual? Kind of what do you do to give yourself that energy to want and to have the energy to go and talk to somebody?
Okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. Well, for me, just to be quite honest with you, um, remember, it all starts at home. I'm already doing scenarios at home before I even walk out the door. It can be the night before. I'm always doing scenario. I role play in my head. I even role play worst case scenario because Celia was asking one day. She was asking me about something kind of similar, and I say, well, I rarely look at the negative because I played so much in my head. Even if a person looks like they're giving me the negative, it's really not a negative for me because I've already went through the scenario. So as far as motivation, it all starts at home. So by the time I walk out, even if I walk into somebody I've never met before, even if they don't speak to me and they go about their business sometimes, which is rare, I'll still say, have a good day. Why? Because I'm already motivating myself for the next person. Because most of the time, you're going to get people that's going to say something to you. Most of the time, people are not cold. People are not they don't want to be strangers, especially if you're somewhere like Walmart, because you're not in a dark alley. So even if you just speak to them, that's breaking the ice right there. And if you see them on the next aisle, you can say something to them because they spoke to you. So you play into that. That's what I want people to understand, especially people that are on the call that kind of timid a little bit. You have to play into it. But remember now, you have to be on the field to play the game. You can't play scenario from home all the time. You got to get in the game. You got to come off the porch. You got to come outside. You got to be active in your head, then play it out in person. And that's how I do it. That's how I said I become the cold market killer because nobody's a stranger to me because I've already scenarioed in my head. So I hope that answers your question, Mr. Sharp. All right. I think Jabri said one more person. So if anybody else has a question or something.
Marcia, how are you?
Hey, Marcia, what's going on? I see you.
Great call. I just want to say I am also cold market myself.
Okay.
So I understand how to go out and peak. So from what you was talking about this morning, I actually do the same thing. I actually compliment someone. As soon as I get their attention, I'm right on it right away. And I connect with them right away. I get their phone number, just like you said. I call them right on the spot. I get a little bit about them, and then I take it from there. So I just want to say what you're doing is cold marketing. I'm doing the same thing. And that's how I am able to connect with a lot of people. But I stay in contact with them. Even if they tell me no, I still follow up with them and connect with them to kind of build a rapport with them. So thank you.
Go. There you go. And I'll say this too, ladies and gentlemen. There are times, believe it or not, when you call people, they don't answer the phone. I think Julian might have said one time, you can get a lot of people in your organization. That doesn't mean they're going to do anything. But I found something out, ladies and gentlemen. I found something out. That's fuel for your fire when you're building a humongous organization. You got to remember now, even if let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a YouTuber. Most people may not know this, but if you're a YouTuber, they're always asking you to hit the like button and subscribe. Why? Because even on YouTube, just as an example, there's only roughly about 30% of the people that subscribe to these people's channels. Just 30%. And that means 30% is good. Why am I saying this? Because it's a numbers game, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you guys to get mismotivated or undermotivated because you may talk to a few people and they say no or they seem standoff. It doesn't matter. It's a numbers game, and have fun with it. We have to have fun with this business because if you don't, you're going to get burned out on the wrong thing. They're human like you. You give a compliment, most people gonna say thank you. You get the name and number, they say I ain't interested. You keep it pushing. If you call them, they don't pick up the phone. You keep it pushing. You can always call them back. Situations may change. This is why I'm trying to tell you guys, your cold market is not as cold as you think it is. You just have to do more of the prep work in your mind before you walk out the door. And you have to remind yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's human. Everybody's human. So everybody's fair game. That's why I love cold market personally. I've done more recruiting through cold market than any other time. I just recruited 2 people this past week. 2. Cold market. Didn't know them from a can of paint. Okay, I see Casey Carter. Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm just a little unclear about one thing about cold market. I understand that, when you say when you talk to someone and you build a rapport with them, does that necessarily, transfer them into warm market? And what would be the best way to get a person from cold to warm and getting into their warm market, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Now, remember you're not, when you peak cold market, it doesn't necessarily translate into warm market. That's why you heard me a couple of times on the call say lukewarm. So you have to chisel at it. You have to chisel at it. But remember a couple of things, Mr. Carter. If you got their name and number, you're aces, especially in a cold market. If you got their name and number, come on, man. You can always go back. You know what I'm saying? And use that as another opportunity later on down the line to talk to them, things of that nature, because you got the name and number. So in cold market, let me be clear, ladies and gentlemen, your initial aspect of a cold market is to pique their interest. Remember, give them a compliment and get their name and number. Because right then and there, you're not guaranteed to say it's a warm market because you got their name and number, but you got their name and number. And remember, before you talk to them, you're trying to analyze. Do they have nice hair? Do they have nice shoes on? Compliments. Remember now, in a cold market, you're trying to make it at least lukewarm. So you're trying to do the familiar. You're trying to get them to get comfortable. So that's what it's all about. I don't want you guys to think cold market like, ooh, it's freezing or they're going to be totally cold. No, that's not the whole point. It's just called cold market because it's the initial aspect of it. That's why they call it cold market. That's all. Okay. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, if no one has another question, I think this will be it for the actual addiction series. I want to thank everybody on the call who chimed in to actually be a part of it. I thank you guys. If you have any questions for me, you can definitely reach out to Mrs. Jabri, get my number. We can talk at a later time. We can chop it up the whole 9 because I want you guys to win because it's all about the team. It's not about one person, everybody's family. The team works, the dream works because the team works. And with that said, I want you guys to think about it. Say to yourself, I want it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sam Foster. We appreciate you sharing exactly what you do on a day-to-day. Walmart is your spot right now, and that's pretty exciting for you. I'm glad you're able to connect with so many people there and pique their interest, and piquing the interest translates into a phone number. And remember what Mr. Sam Foster said, if you have their name and number, you got them. You have an opportunity to take it to the next level. And ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to briefly touch on it because remember, Mr. Steve Payton, he said something that was very big. He said that, he asked all of the RDs to raise their hands who was peak cold market, but then he said his stepfather was cold market. And he didn't do anything, but his stepfather led to him. So before we get off the call, one thing I want you to understand is this: cold market oftentimes will lead you to a warm market person that does something if you understand cold market. And what I mean is your goal. And a lot of people don't understand this with cold market, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to be clear as we wrap up on Friday. Your goal isn't necessarily to sign up the cold market person. Your goal isn't necessarily to get the cold market person qualified. People that do that, they have churn and burn. That's why you can see a lot of people that do focus on cold market don't understand this. They don't get a lot of people promoted. here's what you need to do. And I hope you guys are really catching this. You want to develop a relationship where they are going to edify you to a few people that they know immediately. If you can get good at getting someone cold market to edify you to people that they know, you create the trust triangle, and those people that they know will have mutual respect and trust for you. And that will turn into a situation like a Mr. Steve Payton over and over again. So Mr. Jabri Clemens, I want to thank you for getting us kicked off and everything. And Mr. Sam Foster, thank you again for an incredible end to the addiction series, brother.